go through a few housekeeping notes. I'm Shariful from the Minamata Secretariat. So this session will be recorded, and we encourage you to put your questions or comments in the chat panel. Please type it there and send it to everyone. And if you need any technical assistance, please send your message to the host. And if the moderator opens the floor for questions, and if you want to take the floor, please click the raise hand icon that appears next to your name on the participants panel. You can also find the raised hand icon at the bottom of your screen. So please click the raised hand icon, and if the moderator allows you to speak, then we will request you to unmute yourself, and then you can speak. And then when your speaking is over, kindly mute your microphone and click the lower hand icon. And after the session, please remember to fill out the survey that will help us improve our services. Thank you so much. Over to you, Iseko.
Thank you, Sharifu. So I think we will start on time. It is still several seconds to 4 o'clock, so I will. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening again. Colleagues, very warm welcome to this Minamata Online session on Mercury-added products. This is the second session today, and we had an morning session on the same topic, and we learned that it is very challenging to present the very rich presentation in 1 hour. So we will make a best to make a brief presentation and have sufficient time for question and answers. My name is Isak Toda. I'm a Senior Program Management Officer of the Minamata Convention Secretariat based in Geneva. And this Minamata Online session is to present the COP5 decision taken earlier last year on the amendment of Minamata Convention in terms of the mercury-added products and also cosmetics. We invited speakers from WHO, Dr. Benoit Barren and Dr. Leslie Onion, and also from the Global Mercury Partnership. I understand that we have Michael Venter, co-lead of the product area of the Global Mercury Partnership. And also we have my colleague, Secretariat colleague Lara Okumigene, who's going to present on the legal aspects of the amendment. So I will jump to the content of this session. First, the Secretariat will present the amendments of the Annex A and also Annex B, adopted at COP5 and communicated from the depository, which is the United Nations headquarters, to the parties very recently. And also, we will touch upon the legal aspect. And then we move on to another decision of COP5 on the mercury-added cosmetics. And also, we will touch upon the capacity building activities on mercury-added products. And then we would like to have a question and answer session. If you have any question, please put your questions in the chat box. And I already see some very technical questions already posted, and I encourage you to type in your questions in the chat box while you are listening to the presentation. And if we have time, we may open the floor for oral questions, but we are not sure whether we can do that. So please try to put your question in the chat. And so I will then present the amendments, what the substance of the amendment adopted at COP5. Next slide is just before starting, just a recap of what the Minamata Convention says. And there are two major provisions on mercury products. First one being the obligation to phase out the manufacture, import, and export of mercury products. And there's we have Annex A Part 1, which lists the mercury products to be phased out with phase out date. And the second provision is about any other measures. And Part 2 lists the products and measures, and currently it only lists the amalgam and relevant measures. So next slide is a kind of visual presentation of the mercury products that are controlled, such as the batteries, switches and relays, fluorescent lamps, non-electronic devices, and so on. But I'm not going into detail. And I will jump into the next one, next slide, which is about the amendment of Annex A. As you see on the first point, the Conference of the Parties may amend the convention, including the Annex. And Annex A was amended twice in 2022 at COP4. 8 mercury products were added for phase out, and 2 mandatory measures for dental amalgam were added. And in last year at COP5, COP decided to add another 9 mercury products and the at 1 mandatory measures on dental amalgam. And also to notice that the COP also amended Annex B on the mercury using manufacturing processes. So the next slide is very small, and I would like to let you know that this presentation is already available on the convention website, so you can download and look at the list. So I'm not going to read all the mercury products, but one thing I like to note is that this lists the amendments to Annex A Part 1, Annex A Part 2, and Annex B. And what you see on the right, bottom right, is the matters that COP5 decided to consider at the next meeting on dental amalgam. So next slide is the compilation or incorporation of these new mercury products into the current list. So I'm not going to read it again. And the next one is the continuation of of it. And I don't think you can see it, but if you look at the left box, from the top, the bottom two, this is provision on the certain type of the fluorescent lamps, and it says the short lengths and 3.5 milliwatt per lamp, and so on and so forth. Next slide is a kind of schematic explanation of how the fluorescent lamps were regulated in the Minamata Convention. And if you look at the top box, for example, the compact fluorescent lamps, the original text requests the phase out of the compact fluorescent lamps under 30 watts and over 5 milligrams of mercury. And then the COP4 agreed to phase out all the integrated ballast CFL under 30 watts. And then COP5 agreed to control all the compact fluorescent lamps for general light purposes. So this is the history of the amendment to Annex A. I think this is the last one for me. The next slide. So, okay, so I will then invite my colleague Lara to present the legal aspect. Over to you, Lara.
Thank you, Eisaku. My name is Lara Ognibene. I'm the legal officer with the Secretariat, and I will take you through a few slides on the procedure for entry into force of COP5 amendments. I'll try to be short since we don't have much time and we have many presenters. So you can see here on the slide the link to the communication of the depository on the adoption of decision MC5/4 on the amendments. It is available on the UN Treaty Collection website, and the decision is available in all UN languages. The communication went out on the 25th of April 2024. Therefore, in pursuant to Article 27 of the Convention, the COP5 amendments will enter into force 1 year after the date of communication, which is the 25th of April 2025, with two exceptions. One, except for any party that has notified the depository that is unable to accept the amended text, and this possibility is available to all parties for 1 year, so since the date of the communication until the 25th of April next year. And then the second exception is for those parties who have made a declaration under Article 30 that any amendments will only enter into force for them upon ratification. And there is a list of parties who have submitted such a declaration upon entry into force of the convention. In the next slide, I'll take you through this procedure as applied to COP4 amendments. So COP4 amendments were notified or communicated by the depository on the 28th of September 2022, and therefore enter into force for all parties on 28th of September 2023, with two exceptions. The first one party submitted a notification of non-acceptance. This is China under Article 27, paragraph 3b. And this was within the year before entering into force. And then there is a list of parties who have submitted a declaration under Article 30. For this party, the COP4 amendments have not entered into force because they have not ratified the amendments yet. You see a list of parties here on the slide, and you can find a list of parties with the relevant entry into force dates for the amendments on our website too. Let's move on to the next slide, which relates to exemptions. So in accordance with Article 4 and Article 6 of the Convention's, parties may register exemptions for one or more phase-out dates associated with the mercury-added products added by amendment to Annex A. And we have formats for registering such exemptions on the Convention website, and you can see the link here. And next slide, please. So these exemptions can only be registered by sending a request to the Secretariat upon entry into force of the applicable amendments. Therefore, exemptions for the COP5 amendments can only be registered either within 1 year after the communication by the depository for all parties, so until the 25th of April 2025, or upon withdrawal of a notification of non-acceptance, for example. This is the case of China for the COP4 amendments, or if it's one of the parties who have submitted declaration under Article 30, entry into force of amendments will only happen 90 days after the deposit of the instrument of ratification of the amendments. And that is when the exemptions may be registered for those parties. And then finally, a note, Article 4 of paragraph 2 states that parties may indicate at the time of ratification or upon entry into force of an amendment to Annex A for it, that it will implement different measures or strategies to address products listed in Part 1 of Annex A. So far, only the United States has notified under this paragraph. And the last slide, it's a summary of the procedure. So the depository's notification was circulated on the 25th of April this year. There is 1 year of time with the possibility for all parties to notify non-acceptance under Article 27 until the 25th of April next year, when amendments adopted by COP5 will enter into force for all parties, with exception of those who have submitted a declaration to the depository under Article 30. You have the dates of our COP6 there, which will happen after entry into force of the amendments. And then a note, a reminder that parties shall notify not the depository, but the Secretariat, any exemptions with respect to these amendments upon entry into force of the amendment for it. Thank you. This concludes my part. Back to you, Isaac.
Isaku, your microphone is muted.
Thank you, Lara, for navigating us through the complicated legal provisions. And then now I would like to invite Benoit to present on the dental amalgam. I think, Benoit, you are going to...
I'm here. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Isaku, and good morning, good evening, good afternoon to all the participants. Let me share my screen. I think it should be okay.
Now, yeah, I see.
Good. So thank you for inviting us, Isaku, to contribute to the discussion. The plan is to share some information about the work ongoing led by WHO on this dental amalgam, phasing down the use of dental amalgam in the context of the Minamata Convention. So my name is Benoit Varenne. I'm leading the work in WHO here in Geneva on oral health. So just one slide to just show you, the last decision adopted during the COP5 regarding the phasing down the use of dental amalgam. So now the parties should submit a national action plan or report based on available information with respect to progress they have made or are making to phase down or phase out dental amalgam every 4 years as part of national reporting. A slide also on the WHO mandate and responsibility of the Ministry of Public Health in countries. So you can see that we have 2 resolutions adopted by the World Health Assembly, one in 2014 and one more recently in 2021. So you can see that both Ministry of Health and WHO have a number of role and responsibility related, of course, to the contribution, to achieve the measures coming from the Minamata Convention. And it is as part of this mandate that WHO also decided, to work on the number of policy documents the last years. And one is the WHO Global Health Action Plan. And you can see that we have a global target to be achieved by 2030 that is fully aligned with the Minamata Convention. We hope that by this date, 90% of the countries will have implemented the measure to phase down the use of dental amalgam as stipulated by the Minamata Convention on mercury or phase it out. So we are monitoring carefully this target as part of the WHO agenda. And for doing so, we have been collaborating with the Secretariat of the Minamata Convention through a survey that we publish partially the result to inform the discussion of the COP5. And you can see, for example, a map showing, the status in terms of implementation of 2 or more of the 9 original measures to phase down the use of dental amalgam. So these results are available, and we can share the link for much more details. Another slide about this survey and the result, and it was the first time that the survey was really carried out contacting both Ministry of Environment and the Ministry of Health. So it's the result of this collaboration between the two ministers that are definitely important, if we want to move and accelerate the phase down in countries. So this was the result regarding implementation of both mandatory measures to phase down the use of dental amalgam. Just a bit of information about what we call the GEF7 project that we are, implementing, in close collaboration with UNEP. So you can see that 3 countries are engaged in the project: Thailand, Senegal, and Uruguay. And the project, as it's the case usually with GEF's project, it's a 3 years project, and there is one part of the project dedicated to national assessment, and so with the objective to improve policies and technical capacity of the countries. The second part of the project is dedicated to the waste management of the mercury and hazardous waste from dental use. And the third one is more global activities, to ensure that there is a knowledge management and global awareness on this issue of dental amalgam. A last slide to be important. It's in case you may want to have more information on access to resources related to our health agenda, the GEF7 and dental amalgam in general. So we can see here a number of website link. I will stop there and happy to respond later to any question you may have. Thank you, Isaku, and back to you.
Thank you, Benoit. And as I mentioned, the slides are already available from the website, so you can already click the link. And also, thank you, Benoit, for highlighting the importance of interministerial cooperation. So I think this is it for the amendment itself, and then I'm moving on to the other the COP5 decision on the mercury-added cosmetics. And my presentation is very brief and factual about the what COP5 decided and what requested from the parties. This slide explains what COP5 decided, and COP decided to invite parties to submit information on the challenges in controlling mercury-added cosmetics by the 30th of June this year. And then COP requested the Secretariat to prepare a report covering issues such as the phasing of sales and offers of sale of mercury cosmetics, and so on and so forth. And then we are requested to make the report, draft report public by the end of March next year. The next slide is the letter that the Executive Secretary sent to the parties and stakeholders to invite submission of information by the 30th of June this year. And there's a format, reporting format, which we will process. And we have advertised a position of a consultant who supports us to put together the information and the draft report. One note is that we plan to make the draft report public in January in next year already, earlier than what was requested from COP5, because we will need a bit of time to prepare the COP document. So the commenting deadline is planned to be until April next year. So this is it from me, but I will also touch upon some aspects on the capacity building. So the next slide, I will touch upon some capacity building activities. One is that I would like to present the work funded by the European Union, in which we organized a workshop in June last year on Mercury-added products, and we are developing a training material in 6 languages. The draft is available from the link here. And then the next slide is the series of webinars that we are going to convene in 6 languages in June, July. This will be open very soon. And the next slide is about what we call the Minamata Convention online forum, where you can post questions on the amendments, cosmetics, or the training material. And you can download this presentation material, and my colleague Robimbo has put the link to the for the registration to the Minamata Minamata Convention Forum. So next slide I will skip. I think this is how to post a forum in the forum, and so I will jump to the next one, which is and some additional information. The next slide is about national reporting, and I'd like to announce that the new edition of the reporting guidance has been posted on the web, and also although the report, the deadline for the short reporting has passed, we will put together the reports that are submitted by the 24th of May for the discussion at the Implementation and Compliance Committee. And the next slide is about the Minamata Online session tomorrow, and in which we present the financial mechanism, including the specific international program for which we have opened the application of 4th round. So I will stop here, and then we go back to the issue of the cosmetics, and I invite Leslie to present the WHO perspectives on cosmetics. Leslie. I think you are mute.
Yeah, thank you, Isaku. I'm just hoping that you're probably not showing. I'm not showing the right screen, am I? What? No, I'm sorry. I think this is challenging for me for some reason. Let me see. And is that working okay?
Yes, now it works.
Nice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, and good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for the introduction, Isaku. So what I want to talk about this afternoon is just a little bit about what we're doing in a JEF-funded project in 3 countries that would support the work of the Secretariat in understanding better the challenges in regulating skin lightening products. And just to start with, the skin lightening products have a legitimate role in medicine. There are a number of conditions which are of hyperpigmentation that dermatologist doctors may wish to treat, including skin damage, scarring, as well as a number of autoimmune diseases. But what we're concerned about really is this very widespread use of skin lightening, skin bleaching, or skin toning, which seems to have gained a lot of media prominence, is promoted by a number of celebrities, and this is almost like a misuse of these skin lightening products. And the skin lightening products that we're concerned about was are probably very old formulations when mercury was used quite widely to treat different medical problems. But these skin lightening products containing mercury are now in widespread use, not just for discrete areas of the body and scarring, but for generally sort of lightening the skin for cosmetic purposes. So the GEF project that we're talking about this afternoon is a 3-year project in 3 countries to reduce the risk of exposure to mercury-added skin lightening products. It's funded by the GEF. The implementation agency is the UN Environment Programme, and it's co-executed by WHO and the Biodiversity Research Institute, which are providing really critical support in a number of the analytical areas of sampling the mercury content of these products. So some of the highlights of progress that have been made in this project in Gabon, there's been already a new law put into place by ministerial decree on the import manufacture of these skin lightening products containing mercury, as well as they've started quite a sort of systematic series of sensitization meetings of the new regulations with customs officials and so on. They're also initiating some further research into understanding the reasons why people use these skin lightening products. So what are the public health interventions that may be available? In Jamaica, they've had a stakeholder meeting and conducting an initial assessment of the regulatory landscape, together with some initial sampling of products on the markets, which have is ongoing. And in Sri Lanka, they're working very closely with the Minamata Convention Steering Committee and a planning and inception meeting next month. From WHO's perspective, some of the issues that we're working on at the moment, we are trying to understand better the why people use these products and what are the key points in which public health interventions are going to be effective. It's not really very useful just for sort of broadcasting, don't use these products. We need to understand the reasons why and what are the key influences and trigger points why people decide to use the products. We're also starting a project to understand better the online sales of these products and developing a model regulatory approach that can be considered by countries more broadly than those 3 involved in this project. So we're looking at developing some tools that could be available globally. And one of these is a toolbox for establishing laws to eliminate mercury in skin lightening products. It's been inspired by the toolkit for establishing laws to eliminate lead paint, and we're suggesting a similar type of content, information on why there's a need to regulate mercury in easily accessible format, a status of the laws in different countries, perhaps a global map, such as in the WHO Global Health Observatory, some fact sheets, infographics, guidance on analytical methods, results of product testing that can be compiled into a database. And then more importantly, I think, is in the case of this afternoon's discussion, what are the key elements of effective regulation and what could be a model law that countries could consider if they don't have anything in place at the moment? So it will be illustrated by case studies, and also we will establish a global repository of the laws that we come to hear about. And so as part of this process, we've had already an initial survey of WHO Chemicals and Health Network members and Minamata focal points. The focus of the survey was to gather information in a very similar sort of fashion to what the Secretariat, the Minamata Convention, is currently doing. But from those results we've obtained from 75 countries indicate that more than half of them had legislation in place already that prohibited the manufacture, import of cosmetics containing more than 1 ppm mercury. There were more than a dozen countries that have provided us copies of that legislation for further study. But significantly, we found quite a limited response from those countries where we believe there is a significant selling of these products or manufacture and distribution of the products. There's still many questions and gaps to answer, because even though we could say that there's a law in place of cosmetics, then some of the supporting arrangements for implementing a cosmetics regulation rely on general product safety standards in countries which are often quite quite sparse, let's say, not so strong as possible. And also other countries might regulate these as pharmaceutical products. And so there's different options for how we can ensure compliance with the law and make sure that everyone's aware of it. Of course, we're also interested in affecting the desire, if possible, to use these products in the first place, to also as a sort of supplementary activity. So in summary, we anticipate that the work that we're doing with these three countries will provide very detailed assessments and inputs that will be made available for the COP5 submissions process. The WHO survey results and literature survey will also be provided. We have some coordination to do with the Secretariat around timing, but we think that we can work this through. A number of the project outputs, particularly the toolbox, will be very useful for supporting the implementation of the Minamata Convention as we move forward. But given the important consumer safety issues and pharmaceutical regulation issues associated with skin lightening products, it's another reason for very close work between Ministries of Health and Environment in implementation of the Minamata Convention. And finally, I just want to assure you that WHO is very committed to collaboration with the Secretariat of the Minamata Convention so that we do get as much implementation of the convention as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Leslie, for the brief presentation, but rich presentation. And I just noticed that I didn't mention the content of the COP5 amendment on cosmetics, and the COP5 decided to the original text of the convention regulated the cosmetics containing mercury more than 1 ppm, and COP5 decided to abolish this limit. So, which means that the cosmetics which contains mercury at any percentage of ppm is regulated. So with this, I would like to invite Michael Bender to present on behalf of the Global Marketing Partnership. Michael.
Thanks, Zaku, and also thanks for highlighting the amendment to the convention. We were very supportive of this amendment because it allows countries that don't have lab capacity to be able to test for these products using handheld devices like XRFs. So thanks for adding that note. My name is Michael Bender. I'm the co-lead of the product partnership with EEB and the US EPA. And next slide, please. I'm also here representing the Zero Mercury Working Group and our campaign partners around the world that have assisted in testing mercury-added skin lightening products and those suspected of containing mercury all over the world. And I'm not going to read off all the groups that are listed here, but we certainly appreciate all their efforts. Next slide, please. So just to give an overview of the talk today, and I just wanted to mention one of the main purposes of this presentation is to encourage input, especially from parties to the Secretariat by the end of June, so that they can compile their report for COP5. And when we're looking at mercury-added skin lightening products, as WHO indicated, it's a global health risk, often resulting from colorism, It's both multidimensional and transboundary in nature. And given the Minamata Convention ban on mercury-added products, it's imperative to enhance awareness of the hazards, curtail online and local sales, spur interagency and interregional cooperation, and regulate and restrict trade of mercury compounds. And as we've heard, there are a number of countries that have regulations in place, but need to take the next step towards enforcement. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the Zero Mercury Working Group, our campaign has been gathering evidence on mercury-added skin lightening products since 2017, when we started looking at not just online sales, but local market sales. We're not going to read through all the specifics here, but we've tested over 1,000 products from around the world. And last year, we supported a study by the Environmental Investigation Agency on looking at where mercury compounds are added in SLP, skin lightening products. They particularly looked at production manufacturing in Thailand, Jamaica, and Pakistan, and confirmed the quite evident information that skin lightening products with mercury are being produced in those countries, and not just sold in that country, but they're being sold around the world. We're seeing multiple examples of products from these countries entering into the online platforms sales. And then the report also interestingly notes intermediate transit ports in Spain, UAE, and the USA. Next slide, please. So when we look at where these products are being offered for sale online, there's something like 40 different online platforms that we surveyed, most of which had very high levels of mercury-added skin lightening products, and it was clearly a global problem, warning international attention from around the world. Next slide, please. So when we look at the challenges at the global level, as I mentioned, there's the online trade as well as the local markets. And that includes illegal production and trade, which is quite obvious. And it's quite clear that it's happening everywhere. There's a clear lack of online accountability, where these non-domestic online sellers are able to evade domestic laws. And there's violations of environmental, consumer health, and safety laws, and the online platform liability reform is clearly necessary. And I mentioned earlier some of the countries of origin, including Pakistan, Thailand, and China, and 13 other countries to a lower extent. And our studies indicated around 16% were not indicated on the packaging. And when you look at the packaging, it generally doesn't list mercury-added products, although the product from Jamaica clearly lists ammoniated mercury at 3%. And then there's also misleading packaging or inaccurate information, including country of origin and the language of the labeling. Next slide, please. So when we look at the gaps and the challenges in the response measures that are needed, and this is, if you will, sort of an overview of some of the priority categories for input to the Secretariat. First of all, there's a regulatory arena where there's a need for legal gap analysis and laws and listing of allowed and banned products, including detention lists and labeling requirements. And then when you look at countries that have posted these alert or detention or advisory lists, and they're actually listed with a national detention or a regional advisory alert system. And there's also the OED, which has a global recall portal of over 30,000 products, and they also do post some of the EU RAPEX detention list information and from the safety product pledges as well. And then in some countries, there's also currently licensing and product ingredient listing requirements and approval including licensing and manufacturing, approval of ingredients used. And we did a report on this. It's on our website where we surveyed a number of countries and what their current enforcement mechanisms are. And these include inspections, clear mandates for requiring information on a number of these categories listed. And some countries also list penalties and sanctions. In the UK in particular, the consuls there have followed through with not only penalties, but jail time. And finally, there's also a need for advertising, display, and marketing restrictions. There are several countries that have these in place, and these marketing restrictions. And finally, the need for capacity building goes without saying, and the importance of resource allocations, particularly in the case of customs officials and XRFs for countries, like I mentioned earlier, that don't have lab capacity. The XRFs are a relatively inexpensive way, along with training of those officials. Next slide, please.
Michael, can you wrap up in a minute?
Yes, sir. So the second area is the gaps, challenges, and responses. Our data collection, of course, was mentioned earlier, raising awareness, not just to inform the regulatory enforcement agency, but also health professionals and consumers, and the need for collaboration with academic and health officials. And just wanted to put in a plug again for the intergovernmental and the interregional cooperation and the importance of online commerce and voluntary product pledges. Next slide, please. And so just wrapping up, it was mentioned earlier that the WHO has this 3-year GEF project, and along with that, complementary is the Global Mercury Partnership, has a website listed, and they're holding stakeholder meetings, and more information is available. There are currently 110 members on the mailing list of the group. And then finally, last slide, wanted to just thank everyone and to mention that all of our reports are up on our website, and we look forward to any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. And I think this concludes all the presentations, and we have 15 minutes for questions and answers. And we have seen already some questions in the chat, and I really encourage the participants to post their questions in the chat. I see the one question in Spanish from Colombia, Ivan Dario. I'm from Colombia. Who can I contact? And if this is about national contact, on the convention website, there's a list of national focal points. But if you have any specific question, please put your question in the chat box. And then I think I will pick up some questions. And 5 minutes before the start of the webinar, there's Isatu Ta posted 3 questions, and those of you who joined later may not have seen the 3 questions. The first question: what alternative ingredients can be used as an alternative? And there's a response from Peter Maxson. Thank you for that. And the second question: what role do regulatory agencies and industry stakeholders play in monitoring and enforcing compliance with the new regulations on mercury on cosmetics? And I feel that the Michael Bender's presentation has quite a good example of the measures to be taken. But perhaps if any of the presenters have anything to add, please feel free to raise your hand or just unmute yourself to speak. And then the third question is how does the COP decision on cosmetics contribute to broader efforts to reduce mercury exposure and protect public health, particularly in vulnerable populations? And I would say that the COP5 decision only agreed to remove the 1 ppm limit, and the information collection is for the COP6 discussion. So we expect that the information provided from the parties and stakeholders will be a good information for the COP6 to consider further measures. And I think his last question, what additional measures or policies are needed to further reduce mercury use and exposure in cosmetics and other consumer products, and how can stakeholders collaborate to achieve these goals? So I see Michael's hand, so I think he has some advice.
Thanks, Isako, and thanks for the question regarding what role can regulatory agencies and industry play. Well, there's an excellent example out there that's growing worldwide with voluntary product safety pledges starting in the EU in 2018 and then being adopted by Australia and South Korea and Japan, and also recently last fall being proposed in India and facilitated by the OECD working group, whereby the industry and in many cases the online platforms have risen to the challenge, recognizing the issue with mercury-added skin lightening products and many other safety hazards out there. And they've approached regulatory agencies and parties about entering into these voluntary safety pledges. And we're seeing regular progress reports from the EU. Really encourage you to go to their website to see how the online platforms has stepped up and are really doing their best to keep these products off the website. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. So I think I will move on to the next one. And before moving on to that, there's a factual question about the reporting deadline. And indeed, it was an error. And we will replace the presentation slides on the website. So sorry for that. So, and there's a question from Elham about the non-party, whether the non-party can apply for project, and can Egyptian NGO submit a project proposal for dental waste management? How do we deal with lightening creams that contain mercury, since we do not have specialized laboratories for analysis? We need international regulations. So the first one about the non-parties, since the global environment facility and also the specific international program is a financial mechanism for the Minamata Convention. It is only for parties, and the in order to obtain support, the countries will need to join the convention by ratifying, accessing, and so on. And of course, there could be other financing mechanisms that are open to on parties on chemicals, but for the financial mechanism of the Minamata Convention, it is only open to parties. And how do we deal with the lightening creams that contain mercury, since we do not have specialized laboratories for analysis? We need international regulations, and the Minamata Convention is the one of the international legally binding instruments that regulates, but and also the challenges in analysis and so on. Well, I think is presented by Michael, but yes. I would welcome any of the panelists to respond, but if not, perhaps I can go to yes, from Alba to everyone. Just to note on the matter of skin lightening products, while eliminating mercury is the focus, glutathione and kojic may be natural, but from my research, we also need to be careful in encouraging them as alternatives. And since Minamata Convention is the Convention on Mercury, it doesn't directly deal with these non-mercury substances, but of course, it is as the public health in the public health agenda. One needs to be careful about any hazardous ingredients of cosmetics. Yes, thank you. Yeah, Leslie has already responded, but Leslie, your hand is up.
Yep. Thank you, Izaku. I just wanted to respond to this issue about alternatives. And I mean, generally, if there's a harmful practice in public health, we, focus obviously reducing that public health, and usually you're needing to provide some safer alternative. And so this is sort of very much aligns with the objectives of the Minamata Convention. I mean, this work is focused about eliminating mercury from skin lightening products, and we don't need to go over why this is necessary and what the harms are, but that is the focus of our work. However, a number of dermatologists that we've been speaking to say, well, but what is a safer alternative we can suggest? If so, and then this issue about, different fruit acids, glutathione and things like that come up. And this is a very difficult issue. It's a little bit beyond the scope of this project because this is a broader behavioral change, societal sort of change, addressing colorism and all of these issues are a little bit beyond the scope of our focused effort to eliminate mercury from skin lightening products. That's not to say we're not sensitive and we don't want to promote, like eliminating colorism as well. But this is a much broader, longer term objective. And we need to be a little bit clear about what our short and long-term objectives are and the steps to achieve them. So I don't think we're going to sort of solve the problem of widespread skin lightening and the desire for lightened skin through this particular effort under the Minamata Convention, which is very much focused on mercury. But we're very aware of those broader issues, and we obviously any actions and interventions we take have got to be obviously in the direction of eliminating use of skin or in general. However, as I said initially, there is a legitimate need for skin lightening medical products. If you have really bad birthmarks, you may want to have some products that help with masking or reducing those marks. So this is a very this is when we get into a more complex area, and I think that even addressing the use of mercury in skin lightening products, cosmetics is complicated enough because of the different regulatory contexts in which we can look at the issue from a pharmaceuticals point of view, from a consumer products point of view, and from other points of view. So we have to be a little bit focused in what we're trying to achieve here. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. And I think the last question from Ivan Dario is that he's artisanal miner in Colombia, and how can he take part in in these projects? And perhaps I would invite you to look at the project on the artisanal small-scale gold mining the Global Environment Facility is funding a project called Plan Gold, and their projects in many countries where small-scale gold mining takes place. So I think the contact information are there, and I would encourage you to look for such information. And the last question, I pick this up. Hello, thanks for the presentation. What should be the fate of skin lightening cosmetics, which customs officers or regulatory authorities have seized? Are there facilities where they can be exported? If a country has limited resources. And thanks. And this seizure issue is a common challenge, and especially it is more of a challenge of in mercury, the trade in mercury itself, because the metal mercury is far more hazardous than the mercury-added products. But of course, the mercury-added cosmetics with very high mercury content will be very hazardous. I do not have a immediate answer to this question, but this may be a challenge that parties will report on in the information collection exercise, and perhaps the COP will need to may wish to discuss the issue of the trade control, including the seizures and so on. So I think we used the time of 1 hour. This is a very fruitful session. And as I presented, we have opened the Minamata Convention Forum for asking questions and providing comments on the mercury-added products. So, and the forum will be open until at the end of this year, or maybe we need to close in November. But this is a trial of a forum type information exchange platform. So if there's any further question, please don't hesitate to register into the Minamata Convention Forum and put your question. Thank you very much for all your participation. Thank you all. Thank you to all the presenters, and we look forward to seeing some of you at tomorrow's Minamata Online session on financial mechanism. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you, Izaku.